Hello, and welcome to Order of Operations Review. So think for a moment about those words, order of operations. You should always wonder why these things even exist. Well, when we have expressions with more than one operation, we need to decide which operations we should do first. If we don't, we can end up with problems. For example, if we look at this expression, 15 minus 2 times 3, and we solve this going from left to right, which is traditionally the way we read, 15 minus 2 is 13. 13 times 3 will give us 39. However, if we multiply 2 times 3 first, we get 6, and then if we subtract 6 from 15, we end up with only 9. So which one's correct? This is why we've established the order of operations. You may have heard this expressed as BEDMAS or PEDMAS, B-E-D-M-A-S. I prefer to remember it in 4 steps because the third and the fourth step are solved from left to right. So the first thing that we do is if we have brackets or parentheses, we simplify what's inside. The second thing we do is we simplify all exponents so that we eliminate these. The third thing we do is we multiply or we divide from left to right. And lastly, we add or subtract from left to right. Let's try a couple of examples on the next page. So we need to simplify these expressions, and you should always show your steps one by one working down your page. The reason I emphasize this is because we're just starting to get into simplifying longer expressions and solving simple equations, and as these become more complex, you're going to realize that there's always 2 sides to an equal sign to an equation, and it's going to become very difficult to keep track of your work if you're not working down your page. So let's take a look at number 1. Number 1 says 14 plus 10 plus 18 times 4, and we need to simplify this to come up with one number. The operations that are involved are addition, and multiplication. I circle them sometimes just to remind myself how many steps this is going to take. The first step I'm going to do is going to be either addition or it's going to be multiplication. And according to our order of operations, we should always multiply before we add. So we're going to start with 18 times 4. I'm going to make a small arrow, and I'm going to simplify 18 times 4. Because 18 times 4 is 72, I rewrite 18 times 4 as 72, and I simply bring down and recopy, yes, recopy, the operations I have not simplified yet. Let's just take a moment and neaten this up a little bit so that we know exactly what we're dealing with. 14 plus 10 plus 72. 14 plus 10 plus 72. And now I can add from left to right across my page. I'm going to add 14 plus 10 first and get 24. I bring down what's not simplified yet, 24 plus 72. If I need to, I can write this over on the side and write it out if I need to, but my simplified expression equals 96. Number 2, I have an exponent that I need to get rid of. I have a multiplication symbol and a division symbol. So what do I do first? According to my order of operations, I don't have any brackets, but I do have exponents. So I'm going to simplify my exponent first. 6 squared, remember, is not 12. 6 squared is equal to 6 times itself 2 times. That exponent just tells us how many times to multiply the base, 6, by itself. 6 times 6 is 36. I bring down what I have not simplified, and I decide what operation to do next. They're multiplication and division, and these are considered the same step, so I work from left to right. 36 times 2 is 72, divided by 9. Continuing to work down my page, 72 divided by 9 is 8. My simplified expression is 8. In my last example, I've got quite a few steps I need to follow here. I have multiplication, I have an exponent, which of course is also multiplication, but a special type. I have subtraction, I have division, I have another subtraction, and I also have some brackets. So, my goodness, what do I do first? So let's take a look at and think about our order of operations. The first thing we do, we get rid of our brackets. What's inside the brackets? 10 minus 3. So I'm going to replace this entire expression in brackets with 7. And now all I need to do is simply recopy and bring down what I have not simplified yet. And of course this 7, I can move over to make a nice neat little expression. So now I have multiplication, I have an exponent, I have subtraction, and I have division. I look at my new expression. I need to simplify next, according to my order of operations, my exponents. My 2 stays the same. 3 to the third power, again, is equal to 3 times 3 times 3. 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 more is 27. I bring down my minus 21, I bring down my divided by 7. All I've simplified is my exponent, so that's what I rewrite as 27. Everything else stays the same in my expression. So now I look at my operations: multiplication, subtraction, division. I multiply and divide before I add and subtract, and I go from left to right. So I'm going to multiply 2 times 27 and get 54. Bring down my minus 21 and my divided by 7. Now, do I subtract or do I divide first? I have to go out of order here because division comes before subtraction. And 54 minus 3 is equal to 51. I've simplified my expression to get 51. So there's some examples where you've simplified expressions using the order of operations.